Welcome everyone to today's webinar on global authoring. Today you will hear from Sophie Hurst, Senior Product Marketing Manager at XDL. You will learn how you can improve the efficiency of your global authoring process to ensure your information assets are leveraged right from the beginning of the content lifecycle. This webinar is part of a 7-webinar series on global information management. To register for other upcoming webinars, please visit our website, sdl.com/events. As we're waiting for a few more attendees to join, I'd like to go over a couple housekeeping items. The presentation portion of this webinar will last about 20 minutes and will be followed by a Q&A session. All of your lines have been placed on mute, so if you have a question, please use the Q&A feature on the right-hand side of your screen. We are recording this session, and you will be notified by email when it is available for download. Again, thank you for joining us today. So before we get started, we would like to hear from you with this polling question. For our information and to guide our session today, did you attend the Global Information Management GIM Overview webinar last week? Yes, no, or which GIM Overview webinar are you talking about? Use the polling window on the right-hand side of your screen to answer this polling question. And now I will pass it off to Sophie to begin her presentation. Sophie?
Thank you, Jenny. So just to start straight away with getting us all thinking about the global element and just thinking about the rest of the world for a moment outside of our day-to-day tasks, I thought I'd give us a few interesting key facts here. Probably lots of you are not aware that 7,000 languages are spoken in the world, and actually one language dies every 2 weeks. And with that, of course, tragically then dies a lot of cultural information that's often kept with each language as it dies. The European Union, I'm based in the UK, for example, in the European Union we have 23 official languages, and that's an ever-increasing number. It's constantly going up as people are joining the European Union and as the official languages that need to be covered are growing. Another interesting fact is that many people think that English is one of the most widely spoken languages. Actually, it's not. It's Chinese Mandarin, and it's spoken by 885 million speakers. And something that we've seen a lot of in the last few years is the growth in the Brazil, Russia, India, and China, so what's often referred to as the BRIC countries. And of course, this does provide new markets for global organizations. And also, I think when there's economic downturns in, for example, in the West, these same economic patterns don't happen everywhere else in the world. So that's often a perfect time, actually, to be doing business in different parts of the world. And we did a survey not so long ago where we looked at what were the top languages that businesses were actually translating into. And the first was Canadian French, then it came Spanish, French, German, and then Italian, and we have a longer list of it, but I just thought I'd put a few in there. So hopefully that gets us all thinking of the global arena before we start this presentation. So in terms of the agenda for today, I'm going to give a brief high overview of SDL. I'm going to look at authoring in today's global business. I'm going to look at the results from a survey we did not so long ago. I'm then going to look at issues in consistency and the importance of stylistic and linguistic clarity. And then also I'm going to explain terminology management and translation memory. Now, we do have a more detailed session on terminology management next Wednesday. But what I'm doing here is just explaining it in the context of global authoring because it's something very important, and if you're not on the translation side, it's not always something you're aware of. And then I'm going to look at global authoring management, and I will actually talk about the SDL Global Authoring Management System. And then we'll look at a customer example, and we'll wrap up with some questions at the end of it. The purpose of this webinar is just to be a short informational webinar. It shouldn't be longer than half an hour. So I will try and keep within that time where possible. So we've actually now got the polling slides up, which is very interesting to see. We've got 33% were actually on the webinar last week, but 53% weren't, and 13% don't actually know what the webinar was last week. We're basically doing a series of webinars around global information management, and we're looking at different components of that. This is one of the components of global management. And so what I'm going to do is I will give a little bit of background for those of you that missed information management, very high level.